Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Episode 193. Glad to be back for another week of Sports Card Nation. Glad to be feeling more myself. I actually feel 100% again after my house battled COVID, and happy to report that my whole house is COVID-free, and we are getting back to feeling like our normal selves. I put in my last week of extended summer school. Great group of kids. Had fun with that group, and happy to be back here for this episode of Sports Card Nation. Father and son, Zach and Porter Byrne, are my guests for this show. Great guys. Gotten to know them, online, and just great. The two words, right? The two A words: ambassadors and advocates of the hobby. They're having fun collecting the guys they love, sharing that hobby love. They started their own YouTube channel up recently, and Porter's 9 years old, and another young person, wise and poised beyond their years, does a great job, him and his dad, and they love the hobby. That passion shines through, and finally glad to have them on the show today. I think you'll find the conversation fun and interesting, and had a great time chopping it up with those two guys. So without further ado, let's get this party started.
It's time to start the show. Let's go. Time for our Hobby is the People announcer of the week.
This is Card Killer. Remember, the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People announcer of the week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
All right, man, I'm excited to have my next two guests on the Sports Card Shop at Moco guest line. I've gotten to know them in the Twitter world, and both two great gentlemen, father and son, Zach and Porter Byrne. Welcome to Sports Card Nation.
John, thank you for having us. I've been a fan for a while now, and this is exciting.
We've been listening for a while.
And full disclosure, I did not pay them to say that. That's of their own fruition. But all joking aside, thanks, guys, and glad to have you here and get to talk with you directly. And I mean, I'll start with Dad, with Zach. Kind of your hobby history. Where it started. Is it the typical story where you collected cards when you were younger? You go away and then you kind of come back.
Yeah. So full disclosure, because Porter will tell you, even if I say don't, because he always says I'm Jackie Robinson's numbers age. I'm 42, and like most young men around, I was probably 12, 13. I got out of the hobby. So around 93, 94, I exited. A little bit of the strike, a little bit of high school fun, but I kept my cards. Yeah. They were always at my parents' house. And once in a while, you'd buy a Beckett, right, just to see, hey, how much did these cards really go down in value?
Of course.
Because they're all junk wax. And so it was during the lockdown. My parents were downsizing their home, as many of our parents do. And so I brought my cards to our house, and Porter and I just started going through them and organizing them. And he had already dabbled a little bit. Well, you'll be able to tell your story, but it wasn't until Porter had been collecting about a year or so that I told my wife, I said, I realized that this was the most fun I had as a kid, was collecting these cards. I know why I stopped, but I think I may start, buying some again. And it was funny because as Porter had to realize some of the cards, everything that showed up weren't exactly for him. And that was the one thing that Mom was worried about, was that if something showed up, is he just going to think, oh, these are mine. And so we've actually put a nice budget in place that we share and we hobby together. And I focus on a lot of the junk wax stars, Frank Thomas, Carlton Fisk are my guys, 85 Bears. And it's been fun to teach him the history of the game too, not just from that era, but even, going all the way back. So I was one of those guys, Bo Thompson talks about it, that came back during COVID, but I'm here to stay. A lot of people came in and left because I think we hobby the right way. We do it for fun, love the cards. And so that's sort of my background, my story. How about you?
So really why I started hobbying and getting into the hobby is because I was watching NFL football since 2018, and I'm hyped up about the new season. And the first game I ever watched, and this is going to be in a future video, the Hall of Fame game between the Bears and the Ravens in 2018. I've watched those highlights on YouTube a lot, and so that's kind of what got me into the hobby. And then Dad went to our local card store, Brewtown Trading Co., one day in 2019, and he was getting some penny sleeves and top loaders for the cards he brought home. And so he also bought me 2 packs of 2019 Score Football, and I got 3 Bears who were Bears at the time, and we realized none of them are wearing the Bears laundry anymore. So it was Danny Trevathan and Khalil Mack and Mitchell Trubisky. So 3 of those 80 cards, because 2019 Score has 40 cards per pack. 3 of those 80 cards, my first 80 cards ever, 3 of them were Bears. And that's what really started to get me in the hobby. And I have been in for I would say 3 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
About there.
It's you also, and for those parents out there that want to know with the cost of collecting as it is today, or can be for kids, we got you started too on a 1991 Donruss box. I thought, I'm going to see if this actually takes. We were at Half Price Books; they had it, and so I still had some 91 Donruss. I said, well, let's put the set together. And Porter loves math and the organizational aspect of collecting, and it took off. He really liked just the organization, the trading, finding cards for other people, and so we graduated into the YouTube content and hobby Twitter annals, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, it's funny hearing you mention the Bears. One of those Bears you mentioned, I'm a Steeler guy. One of those Bears is we're hanging our hopes on his arm, and that's Mitch Trubisky, which I actually like him. I like the signing. I like what they got him to sign for, and I think he's sort of gotten a bad rap, guys. Now I know you've probably seen him more up close and personal than me, but I'm a huge football fan. I've always thought he's got a winning record in Chicago, and a lot of people point to Matt Nagy as not being very good for Mitch Trubisky, and last year he got to back up just Josh Allen and probably learn a few things there. So I'm holding out some hope that he's an NFL quarterback, and I know we drafted Kenny Pickett. I don't think he's quite ready yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing Mitch wear the black and gold and see what he can do with, I think, as crazy as it sounds, almost less pressure. I think, getting drafted, they traded up. He got picked ahead of Patrick Mahomes. I think he came in with a lot of pressure from the start, and even with his coach's job on the line, which didn't work out for either the player or the coach. I think, as crazy as it sounds, he's kind of coming to Pittsburgh. The contract's not like a huge one. It's a kind of prove me contract. I think he's coming in even with a little bit less pressure. And so we'll see. I'm holding out some hope there. Any thoughts? You got to watch him or see him a little more up close and personal.
It's funny that you say that because the Steelers are actually our second favorite team.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered hearing that. Yeah, that's
I'll say Mitch, as an athlete, he did all. I should say, as a player, he did all the right thing. He did the right things in the locker room. He did the right things in the media. I was always a little bit of a shared blame between Mitch and Nagy. The more you learn about things as you peel back the onion, I think Mitch he's got talent. He shouldn't have been a not first overall pick, but probably not a first round draft pick. And as I told Porter, if he can't be successful in Pittsburgh with that organization, he may not be successful everywhere. So I hope. I mean, he still PCs Mitch.
Yeah,
we like him, and so we like Justin Fields, but we'll be cheering for him all season.
We will.
Yep, and like you said, he definitely should have been traded up for, picked ahead, and that was the thing. Anybody that gets picked ahead of Patrick Mahomes, that's sort of the litmus test. That's who they're going to keep comparing you at. Every graphic that comes on, whenever Trubisky was playing, every graphic comes up. They put Mahomes stats and then Trubisky's up because of where they were selected in the draft. So he's never going to fully, live that down. But I think and it's not really his fault, right? You know what I mean? He didn't make the pick of himself.
No.
So I think he's coming into Pittsburgh, like you said. I think maybe with the right support staff, a little bit less pressure that, a little less expectations. Like he's there sort of to manage the game. He's got a little bit more weapons at receiver in Pittsburgh than he did with the Bears. So we'll see how it plays out. But I like the signing when they made it, and so I'm going in there optimistic. Like you said, everything I read about him, he's a good locker room guy. Doesn't rub people the wrong way or do things the wrong way. So that's always a good start. So I'm coming in open-minded where, maybe he starts for 2 years if he plays well and Pickett learns and we'll see, right? We never know. You never know. Going to step away for a real quick break. We'll be right back with more with Zach and Porter.
Are you a new sports cards collector or someone returning to the hobby? Maybe you're just looking for a friendly, trustworthy hobby community to hang out with and enjoy collecting. Midwest Box Breaks has been bringing collectors together for many years with affordable breaks, helpful threads, and a Discord group packed with generous people who genuinely care about the hobby and other collectors. Check out the breaks at MidwestBoxBreaks.com. Our goal is to bring you as much value as possible. Also, find us on Twitter at MidwestBoxBreaks.
Hey folks, John here. Just wanted to remind you, use the discount code MBB10 for 10% off your first order at MidwestBoxBreaks.com. Welcome back. Here's Zach and Porter. For you, Porter, who's like? Do you like the stars of yesteryear and current? Like what guys do you are fond of or PC or collect?
I like a lot of like the older guys. So same as Dad, Frank Thomas, Bo Jackson, Robin Ventura. Well, not really much him, but Carlton Fisk and of course Jackie Robinson. And I've taken a liking also to the older Dodgers. So like Pee Wee Reese, Roy Campanella, Duke Snyder, and all those guys. And
one thing we like about it, too, is when we were growing up, they didn't make as many of the older players on new cards. And so that's been a lot of fun as we target dime boxes and quarter boxes. Because you get just as excited as finding a Hannes Wagner as you would a Tatis.
Yeah.
Now, you like those guys, too. So it's current White Sox, but who else do you like that's out there?
Well, I like any Bears players from like the time Doug Buffon was playing to present. I'll take any Bear that's handed out. So say like we were at a show and one guy goes like, "Hey, do you need this? I can trade this for one of your cards." And I would say sure, and I would trade that card. And one other guy I like, and he actually has a documentary, Jim Abbott. I fell in love with his inspirational story, and we just watched, I don't know if you've seen this documentary, but it's on Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video. It's called Landis, Just Watch Me. He was born with no hands and no feet, and he still plays baseball, which is crazy. It's unheard of in my point
Yeah, he
of
just
view.
threw out the first pitch for who, the Giants?
Yeah, he's throwing out first pitches for the Giants, Astros, Yankees, Padres.
We found that because I was looking for a Tops Now card to see if maybe they did that for how much he loves Jim Abbott, and I'm sure there'll be a first pitch card. But it's a cool story.
Yeah.
Well, Porter, it melts my heart to hear you talk about, those old Dodgers, someone your age that, even knows those names, even to say them, and cares about the past history of sports, and wants to learn more. And you're inspired by folks that are obviously inspirational. Jim Abbott is an inspiration, a great player and an inspiration. Jackie Robinson is that guy for me, and I know you mentioned him as well. And to hear a 9-year-old young man kind of say those names and say why that they appreciate those folks or collect those folks. It's you're kind of an old soul. It's you're 9 years old, but you're sort of wise beyond your years, and I love seeing that. And that's the one thing we had in common. Even when I was younger, I cared about the history of sports, even not just the guys I knew that were still playing maybe when I was 9, but the guys that came before those guys. And so you remind me a little bit of me. You're definitely more poised and articulate than I was at 9 years old. I will give you even more credit there. We're going to talk a little bit about that here coming up. But so yeah, hearing you talk like about those guys, Porter, I appreciate that, and kudos to you, Zach, for my grandfather was like that with me. My dad that told me those stories and allowed me to know about those guys and share that stuff. So I think parenting plays a big role in that as well. So I want to give you props there as well. So, we talk about, you kind of mentioned it, Zach, and, the hobby's not necessarily a cheap place, especially when you're 9 years old. It's not cheap for an adult who works, right? So that's always my big fear. I'm a big kids in the hobby guy. I started when I was 9 years old, or I should say I started when I was 7 years old in 1979. Packs were a quarter, right? And those days are in the rearview mirror. You mentioned, some things with bargain boxes is a great way to still be involved in hobby. But talk about ways to stay in the hobby where you don't have to break the bank, and a 9-year-old Porter can still enjoy it.
Well, I think the best resource we've found and use is a lot of trades through the mail.
Yeah.
Trading card database, I don't think kind of going back to the organizational part, that's really what kind of got he and I hooked again, is being able to go through and not only upload all my old cards, but see all these really cool cards that I missed when I was growing up. And then for him,
garbage pail kids, kind of.
Yeah, I still have all those old garbage pail kids. But then the site, and I don't know how familiar you are with it, John, but you upload your collection and then you find other people that want the stuff you don't need and vice versa. And what's a treasure to you or Porter is maybe just sitting gathering dust in somebody else's, 5,000 count box, and then vice versa. And what he's really like too, and even not just with the trades, but finding cards that he knows other traders will like. We were at a show in Oak Creek, and he's always pulling Cubs out for Bo or things like that. So from a budget standpoint, you get yourself a couple of plain white envelopes, some stamps, and you can trade up to 10 to 20 cards in a letter. And then I would say our other big thing are diamond quarter boxes.
Yeah. Exactly.
I finally got him, and this sounds bad, I finally got him to understand you can take your $10 that you take to a card show and get a ton of cards out of a diamond quarter box you want, or buy a pack and then maybe get none of the cards you want. So Rippon's fun, but he's starting to, as he has his own money, to figure out, okay, what do I want to spend this birthday money on diamond quarters, or do I want to rip? Sometimes Rip wins, as we all know. But that's been a ton of fun. What do you think is the best way to kind of stretch your allowance budget?
Well, the best way, I think, is diamond quarter boxes. Now, speaking of birthday money, I bought 5 boxes from my local bookstore. Three of the 5 were football. The other 2 were baseball from my local bookstore, and it was basically like none of the cards I wanted. So I've kind of learned my lesson and thinking a card.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy a pack. I just want to get all the cards I want for dimes and quarters and 50 cents and so forth.
And one additional thing, when he first got into the hobby, I could run to Target and get a 2019 pack of Score.
Yeah.
Well, when we really started to collect, you couldn't find any wax.
No.
So figure out ways to look and find cards of, Eloy Jimenez or, Yohan Moncada White Sox that he likes. That's where Trading Card Database just came in. And, trading with other people that we've met on Twitter or the YouTube community. And to me, that's probably the coolest part of returning to the hobby is just the generosity and the community because of all the different ways to communicate online like this. And, we were talking before we were recording about the, sometimes that isolation. It felt like as a kid, you may have been the only one that you knew that collected. So the more you can expand your community, the more the hobby becomes enjoyable.
Yeah, no doubt. When, people send me, some modern day Jackies that they think I may be missing. And it's nice that people do that. If I have them, what I do is I just pay it forward to other people I know who collect Jackie. It's nice that people look out or think of others like that. And that's the great thing of the hobby.
Time to hear from one of our great sponsors, but Sports Card Nation will be right back after that.
Introducing the only auction house dedicated exclusively to the cards of the 1990s. Josh Adams and John Linden have created an auction company solely for the rare, scarce, and hard-to-find inserts and parallels of the 1990s. Whether it be basketball, baseball, football, or hockey, 90s auctions will have it. Each auction will consist of smaller lots between 100 and 120 lots, so your cards won't get lost in the shuffle. Founded on the principles of fairness, honesty, and integrity, 90s auction was created by collectors for collectors. Register and consign today at 90sauctions.com. That's 90 little s auctions.com.
Let's go! You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast.
Porter, those bargain boxes, you can use them to your advantage, right? So you're looking in that quarter box and you find something, even if maybe it's someone you don't really like, but someone else is, and it's a $3 card. It's going to cost you a quarter, but then you can trade it to them for $2 or $3 worth of someone you like. So even if it's not someone right up your alley, you can be strategic with those purchases.
Exactly. And that's what we do for basically, every card show we go to, we do that because we just went to Oak Creek the other day, and we got like 10 cards for Bo, 10 cards for Diego, and it was just a lot of stuff, for like 20 cards for other people that are not like in our immediate state, but Bo lives in Wisconsin as well, but not like in our general vicinity of like 25, 30 miles.
Well, and it as a dad, and it really, warms my heart when he does this, but I think mom does too, because, like any spouse or mom, they may not always get the hobby, and so that's fine. But when she's seen how, Porter enjoys giving just as much as he enjoys getting at 9, that's important. And quite frankly, I think, and we talked a little bit about this, and you mentioned, kids getting into the hobby. When they see a kid like Porter, or they see younger kids that aren't just about the Pelican case and, walking around and trying to flip to make money, it's, I think dealers and traders, they understand that. And that's why people have been, I think, incredibly generous to Porter to help him build his PC, because they know it's for collecting.
Yeah.
And hopefully more kids can continue to have those kind of, I guess, examples. Because, I think what you see at a card show sometimes, there are tons of kids out there collecting. And I think when during COVID you saw the guys or gals lined up at Target, that's what people were thinking. It's like, no, this it's great for people of all ages. And there's so much out there and different ways to hobby. You just got to do what you like.
Yep, no doubt. And I'll say this. There's no funner thing in the hobby than opening a pack of cards. I get it. Believe me. I've done plenty of it over many years. But I've learned, Porter, that as much fun as it sometimes for what it costs to open a box or even a few packs of something, and then when all the smoke clears and the dust settles and you realize, like, what you actually got and what you could have, like, directly bought. I've learned to open less wax, by trial and error. So if you can hone that skill, I think your collection will be all the more better. But listen, I get it. It's the funnest thing to do in the hobby. To say otherwise is probably not telling the truth. So you just and you just sort of gotta pace yourself and not overdo it, because that's where you can get in trouble. And I've talked about on this show, and there was at one point in my life, I had probably a $10,000 wax bill from opening product on a credit card, which I'm happy to say doesn't exist any longer. But that's how I learned, like, the payoff wasn't, the risk wasn't worth the reward. As much fun as it was. And so I've learned to open less. And there's nothing wrong with opening less and just buying what you want and acquiring what you want, or acquiring cards for other people, like you guys mentioned, and then trading for stuff you want. That's probably is almost as much fun as, ripping open a pack. So,
well, he loves watching the videos of other content creators that we send stuff to. He actually likes watching those videos just as much as sometimes, checking out one that we recorded. If he'll ask, "Oh, did so and so did they get our mail yet? Did they open up?" And I said, "Well, they haven't posted anything yet," because there's just something gratifying about hearing somebody's voice and the excitement when you're getting them something that they that they liked.
Yeah, well, you're very, you're generous, and you like seeing people happy, and that's, again, a testament to you, and good to see it. I got to ask you, you talk about shows. Have you been to a national yet?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
No, and next year is a drivable show in Chicago. And Bo, 1 Million Cubs, he sent me a text out of the blue the other day. He goes, "I know it's early. I want to put this on your radar. You and Porter should really go at least a 1 day, down to the national, and they got tons of bargain boxes. But for me, and Porter was the same way when he did his first show. It's getting to meet folks like you and all the other people. I mean, that's worth the price of admission there. And so it's drivable. I would see it's a very healthy chance that we'd go to the national when it's in Chicago or Rosemont.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. I knew you were closer to it than I am, and I do plan on going. If you love card shows, this is the, I've coined it the Super Bowl of the hobby. If you can get there even for 2 days, it's just that big. The more time you can spend there and kind of cover everything, like you said, Zach, you're going to meet people and chat with people, and then there's more bargain boxes than you can even go through. I mean, the singles club is there where every card's $1, and you never know what you find. That's Dr. Beckett's favorite haunt, and many others I like going to. He's just there a little bit longer than I am. But great opportunity to pick up some cards on the cheap, and if it's drivable, definitely, like Bo said, you got to get there, if not for 1 day, even 2 or 3 if possible. But again, I would love to meet you guys in person if you do go. You guys are great ambassadors. I use the 2 A words on the show a lot, right? Ambassadors and advocates of the hobby. And you guys really personify that. You do things the right way. You lead by example, and I appreciate that and want to say, kudos again to you there.
Time for a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Like the athletes we admire, the Sports Card Shop is changing the game. We're not launching threes, bombing drives, or hitting dingers, but we have built a unique gathering spot for all collectors to trade cards, talk sports, play games, and watch their favorite athletes on the big screens. Yes, we've partnered with Panini, Upper Deck, Leaf, Topps, Fanatics, Pokemon, and others to bring you all the latest in sealed wax and singles. But the Sports Card Shop in New Buffalo, Michigan is much, much more. Our recent expansion brings collectible sneakers, Hot Wheels, and more sports and entertainment memorabilia into the mix. Our new Collector's Cave game room is the perfect place to throw a rip party, bring friends, rip packs, trade cards, play billiards, ping pong, shuffleboard, classic arcade, and Xbox games, all while watching your favorite sport on TV. Visit us at thesportscardshop.com. Follow us on social @_sportscardshop, or better yet, visit us in person to learn about special events, party packages, new products, and everything we're doing for you. The Sports Card Shop, connecting people, sports, and the hobby around the world.
Thanks for sticking with us. Let's return to the show.
Now, you guys started your own YouTube channel, and where you share some of your mail days and talk. And you both are awesome. And Porter, you're 9 years old. I'm watching you. I remember the first time I watched this, and I actually thought you were older than 9 because of how poised and just cool, calm, and collective you were doing the video. And I just think, going back to when I was 9, we didn't have social media then. Probably a good thing. I wouldn't have been doing much of it because I was very shy. But you're not shy, Porter. You're cool, calm, collective. You're sort of like a natural at it. How are you so good at it? So soon.
Well, I think it's because I've basically been on like video chatting and like Zoom and other hobby live chats, like basically all my life, because all
your collecting life.
Yeah,
let's say that
all my collecting life. So that's kind of what has given me the opportunity to like get more, like, I don't know how to say this, but like get more good at, like, if I'm on like a live chat which we just were, to get more better of like saying.
I'm gonna give you a word. I'm gonna give you a word because I can't teach you much because you're so good. Polish. Use the word polished. I'm so polished. You ever heard that before?
No, not really.
Like Jason Benetti is a very polished announcer. He's just smooth. Like he could read the phone book and people would listen.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of him, he's from Syracuse. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Jason Benetti, right?
Yeah.
He did what's now the Syracuse Mets. At the time when he was here, they were called the Syracuse Chiefs, and they were the Nationals farm team. Now, obviously, they're the Mets. But he was the play-by-play man for Syracuse AAA. So we're very in Syracuse when we hear Benetti. And I've met him. He's really a down-to-earth, great guy. And so hearing you say that, I had actually forgot that he was there. So you got a good one, and he's we talk about passionate. He's a guy that you can always tell announcers who love what they do get to do, and he definitely does. Even in meeting him and talking with him, I could always tell. Like I didn't know, I had no idea he was going to be on that big things. He was on ESPN. He was our local guy, but he was so good. He didn't stay local for too long. He got like players, right? He gets to call up to the big leagues, and he someone else gets to enjoy them. And so you got a good one, but I always give them, always hype them up from being Syracuse first. So there you go. But go ahead.
We're worried we won't keep him too long. He just signed a new deal with Fox now. For doing college games. So back to your question, I think one thing that helps you is that you like announcers.
Yeah,
you PC announcers. You watch a lot of highlights, and so because you've got passion for the cards we're showing, I think it may be easier for you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I'm saying this. Have you heard of the news about Vince Scully yet?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have. It's unfortunate his passing. Great. Talking about great announcers, probably arguably one of the best. In the Dodger family as well, and I guess we got to think about all the good things, and we were blessed to have him in baseball for as long as we have, and he's going to be missed. There'll probably never be, another like him. Those announcers, Porter and Zach, from that time period, they don't make them like that. I think, we talk about Jason Benetti, maybe he's along those lines, but it's a different era. Even in we talk about players being different today than yesteryear. I think announcers, we can say the same thing with announcers. So I don't think there'll be another Vince Scully, and baseball and fans of the game are gonna miss him. But we got to think of all the great memories and calls that he made as well. So we can always.
He was a great ambassador for the game too. You talk about ambassadors. He was just he was the best. So we were just talking about that today because my dad, Porter's grandpa, gave him an article, and it's part of it too. He likes he cut it out of the newspaper, and in fact, the first thing that Grandpa said was, "Well, does Porter know Vince Scully?" I'm like, "Yeah, he knows who Vince Scully is."
Yeah, and it actually had his top 5 calls on the newspaper. So there was like Larson's perfect game, Koufax's perfect game, Kirk Gibson's walk-off homer, Buckner's error, and I forget the other one, but it was still a good call.
Yep, and think about all those plays, right? Some of the most famous plays and events in baseball history.
Yeah,
and he got to be involved in them in some capacity. Now there's announcers that will call games their whole career and be lucky to have one play of significance to that level, let alone the 5 you just named. And those are just the top 5. He has many more. We go into top 10 or 20. He's had some great teams he got to cover. And he's a legend. And again, here's, you're 9 years old and you respect the history of the game and know it. And that's just awesome to hear, Porter. And don't change, right? Keep that tradition going, and teach other kids to learn a little bit more about the past. I think that's something I think sometimes lacks with the younger generation, is they only worry about the here and now. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying they're bad, they aren't, but it's always refreshing to see a younger person such as yourself, Porter, that cares enough to learn about what's happened already in years past, and care about it and can talk about it, not just necessarily reading it, but can talk about it because you learned about it and not just reading it one time, So good on you.
You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hey everybody, have you heard about Collectible? It's the one-stop shop where any collector can buy and trade affordable shares in some of the most rare and valuable sports cards and memorabilia in the world, starting from just $5. From 1952 Mickey Mantle PSA 10s in Wilt Chamberlain's iconic rookie uniform to one-of-one Patrick Mahomes RPAs, rare LeBron James logo mans, and everything in between, Collectible is creating never-before-seen access and opportunities for all. Let's grow the hobby we love together. Please note this is not a recommendation or solicitation to buy any security. All investment decisions should be undertaken after doing your own research.
Sports Card Nation has returned.
guys, you mentioned, the hobby community is what's your favorite part of the hobby? What is one of the first things when you think about the fun of the hobby for each of you? Even if it's the same answer, but what's the best part of the hobby for you guys?
Want to go first?
No, you can go first.
All right.
I want to go last.
Okay. For me, the biggest difference from the first time I was collecting to now is just the people. I know that's the tagline of the show around, but it's true. People that I thought, I'm learning about the hobby. I'm watching some of this YouTube content. I'm listening to these podcasts. I've not met anybody that's been someone you couldn't approach to ask a question. People have, they're not out there to scam you, right? Hey, how do I do this? How do I look up, a card, or, can you tell me how to send a trade through the mail? I mean, there've been countless people that just are so willing to help. And, you look at just such a strong community when I've seen on Twitter, or, someone has a family illness or something happens, when life happens, people really rally around. And that, to me, is huge, because for the most part, when I see, you talk about the national others, that may be the first time somebody meets somebody and they've had a really strong bond or friendship for years. And that's really, really cool. I mean, that to me has been the biggest like that I have, and also the way that they've embraced a young collector like Porter.
So my favorite part of the hobby is when you are organizing, the serenity of it, because you just sit down, look at a box, look at your cards, organize them, and that's basically my favorite part of the hobby. One, because I love like peace gardens, and so there's one at our local library that has like a fountain and a little bench, and two, I love organizing stuff. It's just so fun that we get to do that together. And my least favorite part is organizing all these variations.
You're stealing my questions, Porter. I didn't even. But no, go ahead.
He knew if you're going one way.
He knew. He's like I said. He's very polished and poised. So go ahead. Your least favorite part.
My least favorite part of the hobby is organizing all the variations, and Dad and I are giving away some of our cards, so we have to go through like all of our 1990 Donruss and 1989 Donruss variations.
He's talking about the junk wax, like the ink dot denotes, double denotes,
ink double denotes, ink single denotes.
Yeah, so
yes, you listen. You got young eyes. Here's the crazy thing. When I was younger, I could pick those things out from a mile away. I'm scared to admit this. It's getting very difficult for these old eyes. That like even
we
sometimes
didn't know those
when
existed.
I put my glasses on,
we didn't know those.
I got to use magnifiers.
I'm sorry, we didn't know that those existed when we were his age.
Yeah,
nobody cared about
too.
The ink dot and all that. That's just I don't know. That's funny.
We've learned that since we've gotten back into TCDB.
Oh man!
And what's your least favorite?
So I got to use these, Porter. Those listening on audio won't. I got to use these magnifiers.
Nice.
To see half of the things you're seeing with your normal eyesight.
Yeah, I got the readers on too.
Yeah, so that's what you take your time, but that's what you got look forward to many years from now.
Okay.
Hopefully, but and I agree. It's the some of these numbers are small when you're trying to put cards in order, and even reading like how Topps puts the different variation numbers so you can tell if you have something. There's sometimes I really can't see them, and I got to use that magnification. But going back to what you said, positive. Both great answers, right, Zach? You mentioned community, and again the tagline of the show, the hobbies, the people, and you mentioned something that was great too, Porter, for especially hearing that from a 9-year-old, right? The hobbies, your fun, your outlet, sort of your downtime away from sort of that everyday mundane kind of stuff, and you mentioned sort of it's your quiet. Serene, happy sort of place where you can, you don't need necessarily your friends. You can do it on your own and be by yourself and collect your thoughts and go at your own pace with it. I've never heard someone such as so young refer to that. And so, again, I think you're wise beyond your years. And, going back to the announcing, I meant to ask you this when we're talking. Is that something maybe when you're older, Porter, is that something you're looking maybe to do as a profession?
Yes. And I've also had a lot of wannabe when I grow up over the years. So pediatrician, artist, math teacher, construction worker. It's kind of gone back and forth since I was 3, and now it's kind of stuck on announcer and artist because, well, I love art, and a couple of my pictures are actually hanging up over here, and why I like announcing is I do it basically every day because I have a mini soccer ball down here in our basement, and I play with it sometimes, and it's always the Chicago Fire versus the Seattle Sounders. I'm playing it, and the score is always 50-0 Fire win. Because of course the Sounders are my second favorite soccer team, although I don't really. I'm not into soccer, but I like the Chicago Fire and Seattle Sounders. Those are my 2 favorite soccer teams.
So John, we were with some family last couple of days, and I went to school for radio, TV broadcasting. I was the kid that when he was playing Super Tecmo Bowl, my brothers and sisters and my parents were like, "Who's he talking to?" Because I would do the announcing.
Touchdown, Bo Jackson.
And so they see Porter, and my siblings and parents are, this is your son. However, I spent 6 years broadcasting, and I did get out of that industry, thankfully. Just because of the fact that it's changed a lot. But now with podcasts and stuff like this, there are other outlets for creativity instead of working for, Clear Channel or Cumulus or, the big conglomerates. So yes, I get there's a little bit of a gray hair that pops up when I hear, I want to be an announcer, because I went through all that. My parents, thankfully, they let me do it and try it because I would hate to be now my age and never have done it. But you got to chase your dreams. You want to do it?
You do have to chase your dreams.
Well, it's nice, Dad, to hear you. I'm a dad to let your son know, hey, whatever you want to do, if you work hard, that's what you want to do. You can potentially do it. And you're 9, Porter. You can change your mind. I know you said you've changed your mind a lot in the last 6 years. You're still very young. You got time to change it a bunch more. Listen, there's people who are older who not sure what they want to do. Listen, I just did a career change over a year ago, getting into the teaching profession, even though I was kind of doing that in a different format before, but now really solely working with kids rather than adults. And so you're never too old to do something you want to do and do something that makes you happy and enjoy what you're doing. And really, I'm a testament to that because when I got into the teaching assistant profession over a year ago, it doesn't even feel like work to me. Working with young folks and knowing I'm making an impact every day. So whatever you want to do, Porter, I believe you got great parents who are going to support you all along the way. That's some people aren't so blessed, so you are. And again, you can change your mind a million times.
Yeah.
And you got time. I just like to ask you. I'm not going to write it down or hold you to it, but I always like to see the way you were speaking about Vin Scully. I could sense that it was something you might be interested in.
Someone's at my door. I've got to get that. Be right back.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
We are back.
And speaking of Vince Scully and going back to the announcer thing, when Dad and I do our videos, and we mentioned this in one that just dropped today, Dad is kind of like the Jason Benetti of our videos, and I'm kind of the Steve Stone of our videos.
Yeah, I made that reference because I'm talking about something, and he just brings up something randomly, like the color commentator. It just something was not off topic. It was relatable, but it wasn't anywhere I thought we were going. And we try, and I only think it's happened once when I messed up, knocking the camera over, which is just the phone of just, hey, we're just doing one take, just like this. We mess up, and so yeah, we have fun with it.
And and well, I just had a brain fart. I forgot what I was going to say.
Hey, it happens to John and me too.
Well, I will say this, Benetti and Stone, you guys are doing great. On YouTube. Again, Porter, 9 years old. We didn't have YouTube when I was 9, but even if we did, if YouTube was over here, I would have been way over here. I was that shy. And so the fact that you're so good at it at an early age just bodes well and just speaks to, how smart of a kid you are. And, don't change and keep doing it. And if you have fun, definitely keep doing it. Give out. I want to thank you guys for coming on. This was a real pleasure finally getting to talk to you along these lines. But give out all those where people can find your YouTube channel and all that good stuff.
Okay. First, before we do that, I just want to thank you too, John, because getting back in the hobby, and I've said this to you as well, and I want to say it here. You've been you and Bo Thompson really been like a North Star. The Monday and Friday content drops, just the honest takes you have. It was great to get that education. I searched, trading cards on, I think it was, the podcast on iOS, and you were the first one that jumped up, and I was glad. So thank you, because you've really, helped us, even though you don't know how much, you helped, and you're one of the best ambassadors the hobby has. So, some of you may recognize me. I do a lot on hobby Twitter, which is ZACH and then Byrne, BYRNE. But on YouTube, we're just, Zach and Porter. We hang around in a lot of the same YouTube content circles as Hobby Hotline and, Bo Thompson and some of those folks. And it's pretty simple. I mean, we're just sharing our love for the hobby, showing off some of our mail days, showing off some of the finds that we have on our channel. And you came up with the Turn Back the Clock Tuesday.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the background of that?
So one day, well, I want to tell you the story, but you're gonna be probably laughing out loud. One day, it was like a Thursday, when I was going to the bathroom, I thought
what?
I thought of the idea. I originally said Throwback Thursday. Now, Throwback Thursday is too classic, so I changed it to Turn Back the Clock Tuesday.
Oh, man.
And we're having our 8th one drop on Tuesday, and I think noon. And it talks all about, spoiler alert, it talks all about the NFL Hall of Fame game. So Dad shows off some of his favorite Hall of Famer cards, and then I show off 4 cards, 2 each of the teams that actually played in the Hall of Fame game, the Raiders and the Jaguars. And going back to the
what is the concept of the show?
Hold on. Going back to I can't even.
Okay, so Porter said, let's do something that you get to show off cards that you've had since you were a kid, and then he shows off cards that hopefully someday he will be able to have 30 plus years and share with maybe his son or daughter. So that's why it's a Turn Back the Clock. It's cards that I kept through all those years, and so we're always trying to throw different things out there, and we're not on camera. This is actually different for us because we're just trying to show off the cards. They're the star of the show. Although,
and just in case you have to change the day, guys, you can use Rewind Wednesday, Flashback Friday. You can have fun on different days. There you go. So and Throwback Thursday, so sort of overdone. I do something called, I don't do it every week, but I do something called Showback Thursday, and I kind of highlight a show I did from a few years back. and I kind of post the link to it in case someone wants to go back and listen to how poor I was a couple years ago doing this. And I'm not saying I'm that much better, but maybe a little bit better. But, with your YouTube channel, guys, have fun with it. You guys are doing that. Whatever you want, whatever day, throwback, showback, whatever you want to do, it's your show, right? You get that's the fun of content, right?
Yeah.
Is you get to come up with any segment or anything you want to do, and you can always change it if you don't like something. Or this show is a testament to that.
We should just change it.
Well, we wanted to create
you want
something that we would want to watch, and that's kind of what we did. We just
that's what it's about. And Zach, thank you for those kind words. When I started this 4 years ago, I had no idea where we were going on the journey. I kind of just started the thing up, turned the key, and here we are 4 years later. And I do get that sentiment a lot. I don't care how many times I hear it, it still really resonates and hits home to me. And that's why I do it, right? I try to be helpful. I try to be honest. Even if someone doesn't necessarily agree with everything I say, that's fine too. And my door is always open to help anybody. The hobby can be, sometimes tough to navigate, especially for someone maybe new to the waters. And I like to think that I can be helpful if need be. So hearing you guys say that, I really appreciate that. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to be watching you and taking notes with Porter. See, I'm known more for the audio, not for the YouTube. So I can learn from you guys on the YouTube. So
we're learning every day.
Every time. And part of the learning is bumping over the camera, which in our latest Turn Back the Clock Tuesday, well, not our latest, but the one that drops this,
it's coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out in a few days. I think it was me that actually bumped over the some of our cards on display. Because I was spinning around in Dad's office chair. I was doing like a 90-degree spin, and I bumped the table, and our starting lineups and some of our display cards came down. And I was like, "What?
You're giving away our secret sauce here."
Well, I'm gonna make you feel better. You can knock down a camera, knock over some cards. This guy that you're talking to right here did something, and I'm not bragging about this. I'm just full confession. I once ended a hobby hotline show 30 minutes in. And obviously not on purpose, but I hit the wrong button, and so went the show. We got it back up, but not my proudest moment. So until you end your own show, you can't top that yet. So
yeah, it just happens. You just roll with it.
It's life. Yeah. Life isn't fair.
Yeah,
that's life. Life. Life is what it is, right? Got to roll with the punches. Absolutely. Well, guys, I can't tell you how great this was. I really enjoyed talking to you both, and look forward to maybe seeing you in Chicago here in a little less than a year.
That'd be fantastic. John, thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome. How about those two guys, folks, Zach and Porter? Awesome dudes, having fun together in the hobby, father and son. Just had a blast chopping it up with them. Porter, 9 years old. Wise beyond his years, again, cares about the history of baseball, the hobby of sports, and was really glad to have him on. I hope he enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed talking with him. So I want to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back with some closing thoughts.
Check out our website at www.sportscardnationpodcast.com for the new release schedule, our blog, all show episodes, and so much more.
Man, I hope you're having as much fun as Zach and Porter are in the hobby. They're having a blast. I think it shows, and even how they talk about the hobby. Check their YouTube channel out, and glad to have him on. And that stuff's contagious when you're passionate and love something. And I'm a kids in the hobby guy. I know I've said that repeatedly, but it's so true with me. And just love seeing the hobby shared among family members, whatever family members that may be, mother, daughter, mother, son, in this case, father and son. And again, if you do everything legal, there's no wrong way to hobby. Little preview of the next two shows. On Monday's Hobby Quick Hits, I'm going to break down the baseball card exchange debacle times two. Whole episode debate pertaining to that. I'm very opinionated and strong about it. Don't miss that one. And next Friday on this show, Sports Card Nation, my guest will be from Sports Card Nobody, Shane Norton. We'll talk about attending his first national, content creation, balancing family and the hobby and content creation, and some hobby current events. Had a great time cutting it up with Shane. So we'll see you Monday for Hobby Quick Hits, and we'll see you Friday for Sports Card Nation. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Be well.
Say goodnight, Kane.